motion be agreed to. I call the member for Goldstein.
Well, thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker, for the privilege and opportunity to get up and talk about cyber safety and security. I mean, I don't think there's any ambiguity amongst all members of Parliament that this is an arising and emerging issue that needs to be addressed, particularly in light of technological change. And while I welcome the comments from members on the other side of the House, I think it's always important to deal with in a substantive way and to make sure that we're taking the Australian community along with us in addressing cyber security. We know it's an issue. We know it's going to continue to be an issue, and we know it's going to become more sophisticated over time. That's why it's so important to talk about it and why this motion has been put forward, to make sure that every Australian is aware of the risks and the problems that they may face. Because when it comes down to it, we are leading by example to encourage everybody, businesses and individuals, to come forward and share information about the incidents and experiences they have directly around cyber security, and making sure that the strategy is in place so that people can be safe, their data can be secure, but also that we can make sure that people can use technology with confidence into the future as it evolves and continues to face threats. That's why the government takes the issue seriously, and we launched in April the cyber security strategy that does an enormous amount to build and bring to the fore information that's relevant to the Australian people. And this government is doing an awful lot of work in this space. $230 million over 4 years for 33 initiatives in the cyber security strategy, $38 million in cyber security initiatives through the National Innovation and Science Agenda, $400 million over the decade as part of the 2016 Defence White Paper, $80 million to improve public-private partnerships and cyber threat sharing information. So it's easy to make criticisms and assessments that people want to add or contribute, and they're most welcome, but we need to acknowledge the enormous amount of work that has already been done and will continue to be done to make sure that people are safe and secure. And speaking perhaps from a position of history and experience as the former Australia's Human Rights Commissioner, these issues were regularly dealt with in terms of navigating the very difficult challenges around privacy and security and law in my term in that office. And if we don't deal with them in a sophisticated way and a considered way, you can create problems where not only can too many things be reported to government, but equally that things are not appropriately dealt with by government. And that's some of the great challenges that's dealt with by the Privacy Commissioner in making sure that everybody's information, commercial, personal, private, medical, etc., is secure, while also making sure that the government does not become a gatekeeper or intrusive on all matters related to privacy. And that's where the power of technology and its role can be so important in driving change. And the private sector has done so much in this space by the evolution of technology that helps deal directly with the challenges of cyber security. We also need to acknowledge that there's a very serious cost if we don't properly address challenges of cyber security. There's not just obviously the human cost of sense of security and safety, but also a lost productivity and income, and the cost of diverting staff and resources, particularly in business, from other activities to deal with any compromise that may occur. The loss of revenue associated with the theft of information, particularly such as intellectual property, which is so central to innovative businesses who are going to make a contribution to the future of this country and grow jobs for the 21st century and build Australia for the 21st century. As well as, of course, if we're dealing with cyber security at a governmental level, particularly across boundaries, also compromise our negotiating position, our security position in some international fora. There are, of course, broader costs to the Australian economy where information is stolen from networks, and particularly around personal information for the purposes of fraud. And as somebody who's got the occasional phone call from their bank saying that your credit card has somehow been maliciously used, Mr Deputy Speaker, in a country I haven't visited for in some time, and to purchase goods and services that I don't believe I have purchased, I know that experience firsthand. But also, of course, there's a reputational cost that comes from negative social and news media exposure around the challenges of trust, not just between individuals, but also between individuals and companies. And that's why dealing with cybersecurity, particularly at a local level, is so important. In 38 of my primary schools in the electorate of Goldstein, there have been initiatives and efforts made to help children understand the importance of cyber security as part of protecting themselves and their families into the future. And I encourage more of those, because so much of it, as most issues, comes back to personal responsibility, and to make sure they're expanded and worked as part of secondary schools as well. I thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, for your time.
I thank the member for Goldstein.